What's up, everybody? So today we're going to talk about saving money, right? A couple of things I've picked up over the years in order to sustainably drift on a budget, and I'm going to share some of those with you today. But before we get started on what we're going to talk about, I wanted to preface it with a couple of things after this wind noise dies down. Anyway, number one, if you own a tire machine, or if you have a friend that owns a tire machine, this video is probably not going to do it for you. Please go check out some of our other work. You're just probably not going to get much out of this, and I don't want to waste your time. Secondly, if you don't drive a lot, if you only drive 4 or 5 times a year, you're probably not going to get as much out of this information. You're still going to save money, but you're not going to save as much money as somebody who drives a bunch, right? Thirdly, I'm going to apologize as the sun continues to come in and out of the clouds. I'm doing the best I can to not make it look like trash, right? So keep that in mind. One more thing I wanted to talk about before we kind of jump into what this video is about is that we have a ton of new viewers on this channel. And guys, that warms my heart. That means a lot to me. To the 293 of you that have subscribed to the channel thus far, it means the world to me to be able to create content for an audience, and I appreciate it. With that being said, I am very much a driver, guys, and I know that the content doesn't really support that because I haven't been able to post much driving content, but it is coming. My friends and I, we drive a bunch, and we kind of pride ourselves on that, and that was part of the reason I wanted to up production for this channel, was in order to create more driving content. It's coming, guys. I appreciate the patience. We've just had a terrible string of luck with the weather in my area and event cancellations and things like that. But hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll be going to Stroud, Oklahoma this weekend to go party with our friends, Mr. Kame Trick, some of the Drift Riot guys, and some other friends that I have up there. So that'll be a fun trip. So let's jump into what we're going to talk about today. I've been driving about 2.5 years, give or take. And after the first couple of months of driving, I learned that drifting is expensive, right? And it's something that we all are familiar with. But after about a year, I kind of sat back and I really looked at my expenses and how I went about spending that money. And I was like, I can be more efficient in a couple of areas and save money. I'm a very average guy. I stay broke and poor most of the time. And drifting is really a labor of love for me. So I really kind of learned a lot of neat tricks to kind of keep it down low and on a budget in order to go to these events and drive as much as I do with so little money. But anyway, I got to thinking, what are your biggest expenses in drifting, right? So let's break that down real quick. Well, firstly, you have a car, right? Everybody's got to have a car to go and drive. You got to have supporting mods and things of that nature. That's expensive. That's something that everybody has to buy. Secondly, in a perfect world, you want a way to get the car to and from the track without having to worry about the commute and breaking things and things of that nature. That's where a truck and trailer comes in handy. But that's not really expenses, right? That's just shit that you have to buy to get started. So we're gonna talk about reoccurring expenses. So every time that you go to the track, what are you spending your money on, right? Well, for me, and for unfortunately a lot of people around the country, I don't have a local event series in Arkansas. So I can't drive 2 hours or an hour and a half or 30 minutes to get to a track and be able to drive for the weekend. So my number one reoccurring expense is fuel. And that's just the way it is. Sometimes I drive, so far as to pay $300 one way just in diesel to get to and from an event, right? So that's my number one expense. And it's that way for a lot of people around the country, right? But my second biggest expense is tires. Now I'm gonna make a broad general assumption here that 99% of the people that drift, your biggest expense is tires, right? Well, what can you do to remedy that? Not much, right? You can pick up a sponsorship, you can befriend somebody that owns a tire shop, but that's about as far as you can go. And even that being said, that's out of reach for most of us drivers, right? That's not really an option. So what a lot of people do, is you buy tires online. You find a good brand that you like that lasts a long time, and you buy them online and you have them delivered to your door, right? So that's kind of what I started doing after a few months of driving, and now I've got these brand new tires sitting on my doorstep. What do I do with them? I gotta get them mounted, right? So I start to go and get these things mounted, and this is what I learned, right? Mounting tires is expensive too, and this is where the money saving part of this video kind of comes in. If you go to any kind of chain store at all, like Tire Engineers, Tire Town, Firestone, anything like that, they're going to charge you per size of the wheel. So if it's a 17-inch wheel, they're going to charge you $17 a wheel to mount a tire. I generally take about 3 sets, and a set being 3 sets of 2, that's 6 tires, to a drift event. So I have to get 6 tires mounted, right? And I generally have 4 pull-offs or trash tires and 1 set of brand new tires. But I generally have 6. And that shit gets expensive, right? So do the math. If you've got to mount 6 tires 12 times a year at Firestone, which is $17 a tire. Let's break this down real quick. 17 times 6 is $102 a visit, times 12, that's $1,200 bucks. $1,200 every time you go to Firestone to get your tires mounted. Okay, and over a course of a year, that's how much you're gonna spend. So that's expensive. So I started looking around and I was like, you know, the cheapest place that I found is Walmart, right? Walmart will mount tires for $10 a tire if you don't get them balanced. But at the end of the day, they're not gonna stretch a tire onto a wheel for you, and it's Walmart. Like, you gotta worry about them scratching wheels and things like that. Not, you know, talking trash about anybody that works at Walmart, but you understand what I mean, right? But even at $10 a tire, $10 times 6 is $60, times 12, that's $720 a year that you're gonna spend just on mounting tires, okay? So, and that's only if you drive 12 times a year, right? So $700. So I was like, you know, that seems like a relatively simple thing to fix, right? Like, I should be able to mount my tires cheaper than that. I can figure out a way to do this. Well, when I met Drew about a year ago, he said, you know, we could just go to the hobby shop and buy them. Now, the hobby shop is my secret weapon. The hobby shop is on an Air Force base, right? And I know that Army bases have something similar to this. I know for a fact that Air Force bases and Army bases have these. I can't really speak for Navy or Marine installations because I don't have any friends that serve in those branches. So at your Air Force base, the hobby shop is basically a garage that you pay or rent to use a bay. They generally have like 10 to 15 bays in the garage, and half of them have lifts that you can use. You pay $4 an hour to use a lift, and you have every kind of tool you would ever need. You have full sets of tools, you have trans jacks, engine mounts, they have presses which come in great handy, welders and cutters, but most importantly for this video, they have tire machines, right? That's where this kind of all comes together. So, tire machines. They charge you $2 a tire to mount a tire, and you have to mount it yourself, but that's a small price to pay, right? So, if you break that down, you're going to spend at the hobby shop mounting tires, if you mount 6 per event 12 times a year, you're going to spend in a year what you would spend at Firestone one time. Think about that for a minute. And I drive a lot, and you know, like I said, Drew and I drive enough to where this makes a difference. And I know that there's other people out there that drive as much as I do that are on a limited budget, and this is an issue for them, right? So I'm spending $100 a year mounting tires now at there instead of $700 a year. I'm saving $600, a ton of extra money in my pocket, and we're gonna get to that in a second. But I know what you're thinking right now. It's like, well, I'm not enlisted in the Air Force. How can I get onto the base? That's not a big problem. You post on your local kind of drift page or car page, and you find out who's enlisted and who will let you on base to do this. It's not hard to do. And if by some, you know, fluke you don't have any friends or there's nobody local around you that drifts that is in the Air Force or Army, then it's, you know, you drive to the front gate. Don't drive to the front gate because the MPs probably won't be too happy with you. Park in visitor parking and stand there and wait on something cool to drive by. You know, guys in the Air Force are just like we are. They're just regular people. They like cars too. Find something cool sitting in line to get in the front gate. Go over, knock on the window, introduce yourself, make a friend, and they'll probably get you on base. It's not that hard to do. Where there's a will, there's a way, right? For sure. So we're gonna go back to the money. $600 a year, okay? Like I said, drive about 12 events a year, and I probably spend between $600 and $700 just on entry fees to events. So I have therefore saved that much money. So now I've killed 2 expenses with one solution, right? I'm no longer having to pay to mount the tires nearly as much as I was. And with the money that I'm saving, I'm paying for my entry fees. So now I'm only down to paying for the fuel and the tires, and that's pretty damn good. If I can figure out how to get that truck to run on water, or you know, figure out how to get a tire sponsorship, I'm doing all right there. But it's a step in the right direction, right? It's definitely money well appreciated, especially for somebody who's spending money, you know, $700 a year just on mounting tires. Hell, you could save that money and then go in half with a friend to buy a damn tire machine. Mounting tires aside, the hobby shop comes in great handy to learn how to work on your vehicle. If you don't have any specialty tools, you know, I have a small tool set, but nothing I'd take a motor out of a car with. So, you know, you have access to tools there, you have access to lifts to do oil changes, things of that nature. Or we dropped my rack out of my 240 there the last time we were there. It just comes in great handy to have a place to go work on your car. I cannot tell you how many times we've kind of ran into a situation where that has saved our bacon, being able to use that. And not only is it a place to go work on your car, it's a place to meet new friends. You bring your drift car there and you've got it up on a lift, you're going to attract some attention. People are going to come up, and Drew and I have made a lot of friends at the hobby shop. We've promoted local events at the hobby shop. We've brought people to events. that we have met there that learned about it through us at the hobby shop, right? A lot of these guys are from out of town. They're in a new place. They like cars. They don't have anywhere to go. They don't know anybody. And when they walk up and talk to you, you know, you make a new friend, and you're bringing more people into the thing. And sometimes you might be making a friend for life. You know what I mean? Things happen that way. So it's definitely worth going to. We promote our local events there. We work on all of our cars there. And it's definitely a jewel, and it's kind of been my secret weapon over the last, year and a half. And I've saved countless amounts of money just being able to use this place. But anyway, so you guys think about that, the next time that you're prepping for an event or getting ready to spend a bunch of money on whatever it may be, think about how that might be able to help you. Kind of maybe fold it into your routine of getting ready for events with bolt checks or whatever. It helps a lot. Helps me a bunch anyway. But you guys, I appreciate all of you guys watching, and we will be back next week, hopefully with some driving content, as long as the weather holds up for Stroud. But we will see you guys next week, and until we see you again, you guys give them hell.